Hey, folks, as the great man Max Egan likes to call his audience. Big shout out to Max, and big shout out to our community. Unfortunately, we're not yet a community. I see 0 people looking in. Maybe there's a hack going on. We never know. But the topic that we're gonna delve into today, and I have to close this so nothing happens, is the topic of all topics, I would say right now. Hello, Mina. Mina from Vienna, Austria is right here with us. Very, very strong activist and strong woman. Lots of respect to her for all the work that she's done. She was, for example, the organizer for the first real shamanic ceremony demonstration we had in Vienna on the 16th of January. And she took full command and responsibility to do that, and that was amazing. So there's lots of, you see, there's a tapestry forming here. Okay, it's source guided, and until it's complete, okay, we're just following the clues and we're following the breadcrumbs about what it takes to really take the dark occult out and make them flee this country. And they're in every country. There's a dark occult satanic network in each country. It's much more organized than people ever give it credit for. That's why I looked deeply into Mark Passio's work and the study of Satanism and what it really is. And let me tell you, look at the world. Is this world run by positive people or by manipulative forces that are deeply into the study of MK Ultra, mind control, and social engineering, and the control of every being on the planet? Or are they open to share all the information and align with the natural order? No, I don't think so. And it's a massive network. Okay, we're talking, I think in America, it's about 8 million Satanists, they estimate. That's the number that I've heard. And this is proportionately the same case in each and every country, okay, including the country that I'm, Austria. Okay, so today we're going to have a special show with the title Pyramid Activation Codes to Zion, the Gnostic Takeover Unleashed. What does it mean to activate a pyramid? How does it relate to all the actions that we've taken up to this point in our country to take command of the pyramid here in this country? Is that the final takeover here, which then expands out into the world? What is the significance of a pyramid? And activating that and taking full responsibility and full command over it. And what we're also going to speak about, are there forces at play that wish to tell you that they're on the light side, okay, and we all have the same goal? But from my experience, I can tell throughout this campaign that we've done, okay, being out publicly speaking about what's going on in the world and how to really change things from the perspective of deep principles, the deep principles of natural law and the natural order that no one else is speaking about in the freedom movement here in Austria. So I can absolutely happily, with full confidence, say that I disagree with 99.9% of the resistance movement here in Austria. I actually always do 180 degree the opposite of what they are speaking about, the sort of collective mind that forms around also a peace movement where people say, yeah, you got to stay peaceful and we want freedom, but all they want, really, most of the people that go to demonstrations, is they want their old normality back. Even if they don't admit that, and they say they're into enlightenment and they know about the spiritual journey and this and that, it's a deep rabbit hole. And as the great Johann Wolfgang von Goethe said, none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free, or those who falsely believe they are awake. And that's the thing with awakening. You're not awake when you know this is a scam. You're not awake when you know about the pulse weapon that 5G facilitates. And there's very, very deep levels. And my journey along the last year has been nothing but learning and having the humbleness to speak about what's going on in the world, about what's really going on. And when I ask the question, what is going on in the world, I come from the perspective that I do not know. That facilitates and gives me the basis, the humbleness to go deeper along my understanding and decoding the actual dynamics at play here. Because whenever I go to bed and I sleep, I wake up the next day, things have changed. There's a new energetic imprint upon my environment, upon me, upon my psyche. Everything is always in constant fluctuation and change. So therefore, what is applied the day before is taken into the next day and again open to reconsideration, because you don't want to fall into any ideology about what you think or believe what's happening and what's actually happening. That's why it's called a process of awakening, and you need to be humble about that. So it's a massive thing we did on Tuesday, and you have to be, when it comes to the great work, you have to be very adamant and very clear and honest to really get it right. What does it mean to activate the pyramid in Austria? And how does it relate to the political shenanigans that are going on? How does it relate to the agenda that's rolling out? How does it influence that? Where does the one thing come in and influence the other? What is the true significance of the energetics of the land? What's behind all of this? And we have that this stream, as always, has come together spontaneously. And also, in a spontaneous manner, we're going to have our dear friend Ahmed on, where I'm really looking forward to have him on here, because I think we can delve much deeper into deep psychology and the energetics of the land, because Ahmed has been doing some fantastic rituals in London too. And what I love about Ahmed is I can see an individual like me who's really, really focused and ready to admit that he doesn't know everything, and ready to let go of past ideas or interpretations or insights for further insights, that the process of evolution of the soul and of your own activation and your own awakening is an ongoing process. And I have to happily admit that Ahmed is the single one guy that I know who's very quick with that and can switch quickly. So therefore, it's fascinating to speak with him about this. And reflect on what's been happening. You see, there's been a massive process happening within me since the activation of the pyramid. The pyramid in Grimmenstein, okay, which is hardly ever talked about, okay. Just checking here how Ahmed is doing. Okay, he's probably setting up his laptop and he'll join us soon, hopefully. And you see, let's take a little bit of a... Oh, we've got Ahmed here on now. Hey, Ahmed.
Hey, how's it going, Steve?
Hey, it's going good. I've had a little bit of an introduction
Okay.
in here, and I don't know exactly what I said just now, but I just wanted to give a little bit of a history background and a sort of a few points that I want to summarize to always give people a perspective of where we're at here in Austria. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll do this for another maybe 2 or 3 minutes, a short summary, and then pull you in about the energetics of the land. Okay, and whatever comes to your mind with what I say.
Mm-hmm.
So what's important for people to understand is that the message that I deliver in Austria is unique. Okay, no one speaks about this. No one speaks about liability and goes right to the core of how to change things. Okay, and to face the political arena. You know, what should you be afraid of? You know, these are just men and women who actually are more afraid of you because they got nothing on you. When you're a heart, soul based human being trying to make a difference in the world, that's your birthright. Okay, that's why I came into this world, not to be a bloody slave to their orders, but make a difference here. And so what you hear, like my message just is absolutely different to anyone who speaks at demonstrations. So you've got all just, they might go and talk about 5G, they might talk about the smart grid and the control element within the system, but not how to actually resolve it. They would never go as far as to say you challenge the entire political sphere because of the level of information that you have access to and you're ready to put it into action, which is the only thing that makes sense when you have access to knowledge. Is you don't just sit on it and hope it gets better, but you actually have to pull the trigger. So after speaking for a few months, Errol came into play. Okay, and Errol came in, and I'm someone, I don't wait for the lawyers to get involved or the doctors to say something. Oh, we've got this doctors alliance. Do they know about the matrix? I don't think so. As well as the lawyers. Okay, so when suddenly during my process the shamans start to come in, I'm like, whoa, okay, what's happening here? And in the beginning of October, Errol joined our crew, and I got to know Errol for the first time. And the next day, we started doing ceremony on a sacred space, on a sacred place of the land, which was on a stone that looks like a yin and a yang, massive stone, beautiful stone, just outside of Linz. And that's where I started to learn about the energetics of the land and how it relates to the notice of liability approach. Because, oh yeah, I'm holding politicians liable for their actions, but how am I going to do that in a court setting that's governed by Satanists? I can't take this to court. We've got a whole control structure that is adamant, first and foremost, to own the court system. Because it's a satanic principle that we make up what law is, and we don't suffer the consequences for our immoral behavior. But everyone else, because they think these satanic cult thinks they're gods on this planet, they think we have to be subjugated to the law that they make up, even if it's criminal law, as we can see since the very beginning of this crisis. So I've not got a court setting where I'm going to take this liability, but I can use the energetics of the land to make the truth come up to the surface. And that's what we've been doing. And on Tuesday, we activated that pyramid. And I want to get deeper into what happened there and the details that are happening there. But I just wanted to get Ahmed in here and also speak about the energetics of the land, what you've been doing in London, and how you also, how do you see it and how does it support, for example, the notice of liability action that you wanted to take? How do those two relate? And what can you tell you about the fascinating subject of the energy of the land? How can we use it? How can we harness it?
Well, it all ties in with the action of notice of liability in itself, when you speak truth to power, when you hold them to account, when you tell them what they are, not them telling you what you are, then that is an energetic field that you are sending out into the matrix, and you're interfering with their matrix that they control and that they create. And that is the pattern interrupt that we are looking for when we are working with these things. So the NOL is an energetic expression of you as a human, living human being, man or woman. And that is already an energetic imprint you're sending out into the world through that action. And then that also ties in because it's all energetics and magnetics when we are talking about laws of attraction and things like that. And we are very powerful at manifesting once we start to truly get into our alignment and knowing who we are, or working on who we are, so that we are more heart-based. We are always keeping the ego in check. And those things are so important. You can't access nature and have a relationship with nature if you're still stuck in the egoic state. And the program they've given us as well is the God complex, right? So it's really important to get out of this God complex, because you are not all knowing, you're not all seeing, and you're not definitely not somebody that can change reality with a click of a finger, right? It's You've got to really start connecting with nature, and that's how it ties in with the land and also the ancestry. The ancestry is so important because they're both tied in the quantum entanglement, or what we refer to as quantum entanglement, and the quantum fields. You know, this is when we're talking about energetics, we're talking about the ancestral plane, the terrestrial plane, and the celestial plane. And these in turn, by working with these principles of nature, you are affecting the change in reality that you want to bring through these energetics. So when we went to do our ceremonies in London, I had a very powerful dream where I was an eagle flying above London by Big Ben, and I saw this right angle triangle, right? And I thought, what's going on? And these were dots, and they were portals essentially, and I could see what they were, and I understood, but I had no idea where exactly to pinpoint them. But this is the beauty of being in the flow and in the synchronicity, and sometimes just letting go as well, trying to find it. And somehow I just thought, let me just see what the Druids, because that's the oldest, most ancient people of this, native to this land. So I started researching and looking into London as an ancient land rather than a city. And lo and behold, I came across this book, Ancient London. And then I flicked to a page and I saw the exact right angle triangle, which were the ancestral mounds. And this is what they do. They build and put a lot of their structures on these sacred lands. Either to obscure and hide what's in plain sight, or mainly so that they can start to do these evil satanic rituals, so that they can hijack the energies of the land and imbue it with negative dark forces, or evil forces, should I say, that negates creation and life, that sucks the life force energy from the land. And in turn, you are ultimately creating the highest form of fear doing these rituals. And this fear energetics, especially with children, all these horrible things they do. And I mean, this stuff is, every time I remember the children, it really stirs me, It really,
It's
really
so
stirs
important.
me.
Sorry to butt in here, but it's so
Yeah.
important to realize, and that's how I started the live stream. Please just remember your flow that we want
Yeah.
to continue. But I pointed out that it's so important to always come back to the basics, that the cement of this control system is Satanism and pedophilia. Okay, and it's much more widespread than we know. And the one thing these people are is organized, and they're in every country. So that's the level from where I'm coming from, and trust is earned over time. So I question everything around me, and it's so important to realize while we're doing this, you look into a child's eye and you know you're doing this right, and you're gonna even face the demiurge and tell him to fuck off because of these eyes you can see in the child. That's why you're doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and for all our brothers and sisters who are aware and awake now, or in their awakening, and they're realizing all this new information, and we're still uncovering all the deep psychic programs they've done on us, you know. So, yeah, and going back to the energetics and how they imbue it, because this is what they deal with. They deal with geomancy and necromancy. The necromancy is the ritual element, the sacrifice element, right? And this can also be done in different forms too. Don't think it's just, people in hooded cloaks doing these really vile rituals on children, but also war. War is massive on energetics. Don't underestimate, how that imbues the land with such suffering and fear, and that resonance that it sends out to serve these evil archontic forces and these evil humans that work with them and hybrids that work with them. So knowing that, then, because if you don't want to believe in necromancy and geomancy, please go ahead. There's Netflix to watch, and Amazon Prime. You want to go back to that? Go for
Go
it.
and entertain yourself,
Yeah, absolutely. Go and entertain yourself. Don't worry about it. We've got it from here.
Yeah, me and Ahmed, I'm not here to entertain you. We're actually here to share the truth and piss people off, even if, and that's what I experienced in the course of the pyramid activation, okay, which I want to get into later. We're not here to entertain you, okay? We're here to share the truth, okay, as we find it out, and that's why I brought you onto the call here, Ahmed, because I feel such a strong connection with you. And I'm actually ready to say publicly that actually at this point right now, I know no one who has the same drive for truth and quick action and humbleness to accept that things are different to the way they thought it was than you. That's what I can
thank
see.
you, brother. Takes one to know one. Thank you. That I'm honored. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So, going back to this energetics, and this is what the Native Americans practiced, the Druids practiced. I mean, all over the indigenous or ancient, whether it's indigenous and current right now, or the ancient cultures that used to exist before they were genocided from the planet and their history erased from our human memory. They honored ancestors. They knew how to bury their ancestors as well. Burial is really important. Or if you're doing, cremation as well, cremation ceremonies, because you can do one or the other, but you've got to do it in the correct way. And this is what knowledge that we've forgotten, like working with crystals, burying the dead with crystals to energetically charge their spirit into the land. Their soul moves on, but the spirit, their spirit, whether it's a warrior, a scholar, somebody who's always stood in their spiritual moral alignment and was celebrated in their tribes. They were celebrated and adorned with jewels and precious things and gifts when they were buried. And this is what they used to do in these Druid mounds too. And what do they do now? They build on top of them their Masonic structures, okay, to hijack the memory, to not even hijack, to desecrate and spit on and disrespect in every satanic way possible, and to erase their memory. That's what they want, so that we as people do not know true history, and we do not even know our ancestors anymore, and when we talk about ancestors, it's not a race. Let's just get over the race thing, all right? It's not a race. These ancestors were the world over, especially when you look at the 33rd degree lateral of the planet, right? All the pyramids are built there. The Chinese pyramids in the Far East, the ancient Egyptian pyramids, and so on, all the way to Peru and the Mayan civilizations, Angkor Wat in Malaysia, and those places. Um, they're all there, and they were all built there, and they were all built similarly with their own imprint of their culture into these structures, because yes, we are culturally different, and we were different expressions of just like we are now in that sense. But back then it was far more authentic.
Yeah.
And these ancestors had a relationship, a very harmonious, holistic relationship with nature. And when we talk about nature, nature is what informs spirit. Spirit is what informs body. Body is what informs mind. Mind is what informs emotions. Emotions is what informs ourselves. All this communication through these natural resonances and these processes of our human abilities. No, nobody wants to talk about that. Let's not talk about that.
I'm
Let's
so
just
glad
talk
you're
about,
talking about it.
yeah. I
And
mean, it's so
I want to point this out also to the viewers here. What Ahmed is sharing right here is massive information. It blew the top of my head off during the course of this week. And this is absolutely massive information. Okay, so I'd like, again, can you emphasize or go deeper when it comes to the body informing the mind? What's the dynamics here? Because that is fascinating. That
yes.
was absolutely fascinating for me when we talked about this the other day.
Yeah, I've got it noted down here because sometimes I say it in the wrong order. But
Because afterwards, after you explain it, I'm going to explain how it relates to the pyramid activation, what the dynamics of that is.
right, okay, that would be good to tie that in as well. Here we go. So, um, the spiritual body is informed by magnetic fields in nature. The mental body is informed by spirit. The emotional body is informed by mind. The physical body is informed by emotions. Okay, this is the human energetic communication through source and nature into our spirit and into ourselves. Okay, these are the way out that I've extracted from Ras Ben's work as well, and these affect the three sources of magnetic fields, like we talked about: the ancestral plane, the terrestrial plane, and the celestial plane. And it's so important we recognize these magnetic fields in nature. And we are also nature. We humans are also nature. We have to remember that as well, because they want to divorce us from nature and say, no, you're the pollutants in the planet. You're the virus.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the same old,
Mhm.
always pointing the finger at you, human,
Mhm.
you worthless thing. How
Yeah.
dare you even exist?
How dare you even question? You
Exactly.
just have to soak it all up and just trust us. We'll take care of you. And that's
Mm.
what I want to tie in here also, because we're talking about something absolutely massive. Okay, I want to point out also the facts about the ancestors, what you said, importance of that. It's one of the things, like the word consciousness. When I
Mm.
first heard it, I was like, what the fuck's that? Well, it's bloody important, isn't it? I didn't know until I was 22 that that word even existed. When I flipped open a David Icke book and he's talking about consciousness. It was the same thing with liability. I was like, what the fuck is liability? No one talks about this. So I better
Mm.
study it. And that's what I did. And it's the same with the ancestors. I know this because I realized that my connection to the ancestors wasn't present because I wasn't even aware of this element. Because you're brought up in this society, you've got your family, you've got your friends. And the more my awakening process kickstarted, and I decided to move with the energy, although it was painful because I was studying at university, and you're suddenly starting to feel that that's not for you, and you know no one else around you in your surroundings that understands you, and that's why you drink, and you go out a lot, and you somehow think they're your friends. But with the whole scam kicking in last year, I lost all of my friends, and I never felt better.
You and me
And
both, Steve.
exactly. Reorder, the new world order
Mm,
of my microcosm. Yeah, let's go for it.
mm,
Okay. And maybe we can create our new world order in the macrocosm then when we do that, when we let go. And then we draw the real people in that
mm,
serve our evolution. And the ancestors, that element to remember, is
mm,
so important. And it was one of the questions that John Lash, for example, the Gnostic teacher on the internet, as he calls himself, and the author of Not in His Image, one of actually my favorite books still, which gave me the most insight. And I had to cry my way through that book. It
mm,
meant so much to me. But one of the questions that he couldn't ask, or he couldn't answer me, was what happened to the ancestors? How were the Gnostics slaughtered in the past? So when you have this understanding of the Archon realm, the modus operandi, and most of all their psychology, their weapons of manipulation.
mm,
How, when you know that, when you know how they can create reality loops, they can simulate realities in your mind, how was it possible that the Archons or this Archontic force got to them and eradicated them? Up to the point where we don't even know about the true history of Tartaria anymore. We don't even know about the true history of the Gnostics. We're still finding out. And
mm,
uh, and the Cathars. How did that all come about? And he couldn't answer that. And I think we're driving at a key question because we're in this for real, okay? You dark
mm,
forces, I know you're listening in, okay? We've got full control of the pyramid in Austria unless you prove through the principle of science, meaning falsification, that it's not so. Otherwise, you're checkmated and you can get as offended as you like. And we're not here to be eradicated because we can see through your bullshit on all levels, okay? I'm not taking anything for granted. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. We
mm,
can't be taken out because we've got deep knowledge about the nature of reality,
mm,
and that's why we talk about psychic attacks and protection. You know, no one
mm.
can anyone get to you, Ahmed. Do you feel
They've
that fear for
tried.
your life?
Nope. No, no fear. It's all love.
Yeah, exactly. Through
And
deep gnosis.
mm. And also that's the other thing they want to make us believe about the Gnostics is that they're just Gnostic, and that's it. That's their limit. But they were Hermetists. They were also they practiced in Hermeticism. They practiced in um, ancient numerology, Kabbalah, Tarot. Okay, all these practices we've lost the divination arts. Nobody talks about the divination arts, and there's so many. Tarot is very difficult as well. It's not anybody. There's so many of these online tarot readers, but there's very few that are actually very good at how to use these divination tools. But yeah, going back to the ancestral, Steve, there's something I want to say about the ancestral. I've got some notes here from Ras Ben, and I thoroughly recommend Ras Ben's work if you want to look into energetics. So we talked about the celestial plane, the terrestrial plane, right? And we all know that these like the Earth itself is a primary source of natural magnetic fields of energy, which projects into the ionosphere and reflects the energetic light back into itself, creating the ley lines and the energetic grids. Okay, that's why they did the war on terror. The war on terror isn't the war on terror; it's the war on Terra, our mother planet. That's what they meant when they said war on terror. But this has been going on for a long time. But they have to hint at us and remind us every now and then for their God complex ego to be appeased and for them to smirk to themselves because say, ha ha ha, how ignorant all you human beings are. You're so easy to control. And then, yeah, we have the celestial. And that's how the astrological and galactic frequencies of the cosmos shower the Earth with another source of magnetic fields from the galactic center. And this is all echoed from the micro to the macro. So when we go into the more micro, we go into the ancestral plane. All right. And it's not really micro. I mean, it's a paradox, actually. That's why they call it the ancestral plane is the quantum entanglement. So energy never dies, right? It never dies. It only transforms. And the human doesn't cease to exist once their physical and emotional body sheds their physical and their physical selves, as long as they're remembered, right? When we talk about spirit, that's what the Native Americans did. That's what the High Arya, the Druids, did. The ancient Egyptians did. And there is a magnetic charge that happens, which animates their mental body and aligns their spirit life force energy to remain magnetically attached to this reality. This is why when we talk about the Native Americans, they had sacred land. Why was it sacred? It's because their ancestors were buried there generation after generation, imbued by their spirit and life force energy. And they used that energy to create rain. They used that energy to influence nature, to serve them, to help them thrive, because that's what nature does. She wants to help. She comes out wherever there is to give more life. And the ancestral potential, right? We talk about the ancestral potential to influence reality. They are the quantum variable. They are in the quantum reality. And as we know, in the quantum realms, it involves the continuous point in time space where particles and electrons impact our collective manifested reality.
Mm-hmm.
And what is considered luck, chance, coincidence, fate, these things are not random, right? And usually fate manifests itself from a quantum reality that is influenced by the unseen. Okay, and that these quantum ancestral forces, the strength of an ancestor's magnetic potential, that determines the degree in which they can influence the quantum reality realm. And therefore, it's so important to have strong ancestral forces behind you, because they tend to create luck and fortunate synchronistic moments. And you can do simple things by connecting with your own ancestors, and also going to these burial sites and studying who these ancient peoples were, and doing your best to connect with them through your life force energy to activate the land. And it's very important to be barefooted. You have to show the respect when doing these ceremonies and connecting with the land. So things like crystals, offerings, and gifts that you create that are natural and can organically deteriorate. I don't think they'll appreciate plastic. So these things you can use in ceremonies, and call upon these ancestral forces and do the high commands. Do the high commands and cleanse the energy and cleanse the land. Let them know you remember them. Let them know you want to work with them. Let them know that you're here in alignment with Gaia Sophia, with our mother planet. You're in alignment as a high commander of the source, and you're here to cleanse the land and purge all the evil energies and transmute it through your light force energy.
And that's exactly what happened to me after the activation of the pyramid. Okay, so the significance of this, okay, and I want to explain how this works. Okay, so I'm taking action with a notice of liability. I served the notice of liability at Age of Truth here in Vienna, which I paid. I actually paid for doing my job and risking everything because it's the right thing to do. How about that? Okay, I paid 500 euros to do my job. You know what I got paid? Because it doesn't matter. You have to do the right thing. And that's one of the ways, that's why I keep emphasizing, how do you want to charge your human family for the information you have? Don't you see what's going on in this place? And you want to charge people for your information? You're a jackass. Okay, and I'll tell you right in your face. Wrong thinking. And maybe it's that what it takes for you to wake up. That this is an emergency situation that we're facing. And that's one of the Archon infiltrations also, that they make you forget the level of emergency that we're in. How about Fukushima? Have you forgot about that? How about satanic pedophile rings taking our children for rape and murder? And that's what you learn from Mark Passio. Their money is children. And they are very sophisticated in their manipulation, because you have to remember, and this is what I keep telling people around me, and I have to make them remember, you are taking down an entire matrix multidimensional control system. And there's forces that really don't want you to do that. There's lots of forces that want you to do that, and they can't be happier with you having the humbleness to constantly question your environment and question yourself. And that's where you get somewhere, and that's how the ancestors speak to you. So I'll give you an example. On Thursday, I was offered magic mushrooms. And I'm sitting there, and this is after the pyramid activation, okay? Tuesday, we activated the pyramid. Thursday, I'm sitting on a couch being offered magic mushrooms. So I have a lot of respect for the mushrooms, and I happily decline and go about my day. It's just relaxing, taking it easy, drinking a beer, just totally relaxed, nice environment, having a chat. But it kept coming back to me, and I know the mushroom's speaking to me, you see? And it's like, go for it. I was like having this little bit of a nervous feeling inside of myself, which is always a good sign, because I'm entering into the unknown. And I have to do it the right way. I have to be clear on this. So we activate that pyramid, and I'm like, this could get really intense, but I do it anyway. So I eat one mushroom, okay, which is a very small portion. And things started to happen energetically. The mushroom was communicating directly to me. You have to understand this process. I don't put a middleman between me and the mushroom. Okay, I take all things into consideration. I listen to other people, but first and foremost, I go with my direct understanding based on principles of the dynamics of what's going on here. Because it's not just some easy job to take back a pyramid and you just go there, you hold your hand up. You know how loud that high command was that I did there? I've never been as loud as that. Never, ever. The words coming out of my mouth that I didn't even know I would consider. Telling the demiurge to leave this country, and according to the timing of the source, having to leave this planet, okay, which is tied to the timing of the source. These are massive intentions on an energy point of a pyramid that is charged like nothing you can imagine. But I don't feel those energies. You see, I put my hand over it. I'm sort of like, yeah, that's something, but I'm not that feeling character. I'm the high command character, okay? So I was expecting repercussions, and I already got attacked before I went to sleep, and that was the same time that the demi also came to you before sleeping. We had a similar experience there, parallel, which is interesting. And so I take the mushroom on Thursday, and I'm suddenly detecting the entire situation. I'm getting massively attacked, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a walk now and get some fresh air, because I need to leave this space now and just clear my mind and talk things through. So I go outside with Chris, and I communicate that to him, and he's like, yeah. I don't want to go too much into specifics, okay? That's not necessary. But I was trying to tell him, Chris, you have to realize we activate a pyramid, and you're taking down entire multi-dimensional matrix control system. That's what we're doing. That's what we're teaching to people, because we're doing it together. You expect high-level manipulation. And I go back to this place, okay? And we were shown this pyramid, okay? And we were invited to stay at a home, and I'm very thankful for that. And I actually had a good time and was very well looked after. But you don't know what's going on in the unseen, okay? Can we just say that? I don't know. And we just don't know. We can sense it to a bit. But taking the mushroom, I realized that they were having my consent through a controlled activation of the pyramid, not the entire deal. So when I came back from the walk, I faced those people, okay? In my honesty, I said, I'm sharing my story to this. This is important. I'm under attack, and I know my medicine is speaking, and the attack ends when I speak my truth. So I said, I remove all consent from what you're doing. The pyramid is ours due to the level of information we have access to that you do not understand, and you have to have the humbleness to realize that you're in a bubble and there's people that know more than you and are putting more effort into it and have the entire force of the source behind them, not just some demented entity. So you're in a possibility when someone shows you the pyramid, okay? It's a possibility. I'm not saying it is like that. There is a possibility that you're dealing with the high priest and the high priestess of a satanic cult. That is a possibility. Okay? So if you know that you're going to activate that pyramid anyway, according to the law of synchronicity, you're going to do that because you're taking the land back, and you need to activate that pyramid to take the land back, to take the country back. They will want to create a scenario where they can control that activation. Okay? So that's why the mushroom was speaking so strongly to me, because I busted that bubble. Okay? And again, I say, you need to show me that it is not our pyramid, not backed by the ancestors, not backed by the entire force of the source. You need to show me that and explain to me through falsification of my claims that it isn't so. If you do not do that, so it is, and so it is, and so it is. The pyramid is in the hands of our tribe. Okay, who align their will with the will of the source. We've got witnesses here. Okay, I'm not just talking like this and doing this for some game. Okay, I'm actually interested in taking the whole planet back, because that's what we need to do. And as soon as I'm getting to the point at the end of this story here now. As soon as I talked in that way, I get attacked verbally, saying, I've set up this setting here to do this mushroom ceremony, and it was all under control until you evil one, bursted it. Yes, that's what I'm here to do. Why do you think I'm taking mushrooms, huh? To have some fancy dances in front of me and some little diagrams, or I don't know. I'm not doing this for entertainment. I'm doing this for doing the work. Okay? And they lost full control. They lost full control. And that's what the activation of the pyramid was about. And I was attacked for the rest of the 4 hours. Okay? The rest. I was constantly under attack. I just held up my hand, did the high commands, and they fled. I'm the lighthouse, okay? You bring me demons, I'm the lighthouse, and they all go to the source. So this is what actually happened. And what the one thing, and I want to get back to you now, Ahmed, here. The one thing that was that really stuck out for me, which is the main component of how we dealt with that energy and perception hijack, okay, through a controlled ceremony, was the aspect on the highest levels of this control structure are women. Can we speak about that? And the psychological manipulation of that. It's massive, I know, but I just want to bring that element in there, because that one I felt powerfully during that ceremony.
Well, there's great work that Michael Tessarian has done on the female Illuminati. I recommend anybody to go there and research deeper into these. If you're interested about the the dark occult. And when we look at the highest now, we're and it's also my inclination now, because when we talk about women being at the top, these women being at the top, this is not any normal kind of, when we say women, these are not women as human women as we know, right? We know that in the upper echelons of these societies, these are hybrid humans, right? Which are open to infiltration and possession by reptilian and occultic forces. So these women lead so it's a psychological play. It's an inversion. We have to remember everything is inverted. If they tell you it's patriarchy, if they tell you it's matriarchy, it doesn't really matter, okay? But you see the psychology at play here, and when we look at how men can't manipulate women in that way, because men inherently are men, right? The only one that can understand female psychology is a female, just as as much as a male can understand male psychology. Only males can understand better because they're males inherently, biologically, in creation. Mm-hmm. So when we have these caveats, let's say, in place when we discuss this topic, because I know this could be sensitive and triggering to some people, okay? But yeah, we are talking about a female, feminine element at the top of the structure, the whole power structure, or the power that shouldn't be. And this is an inversion. They tell you it's a patriarchy, but it's actually a sort of satanic matriarchy controlling a satanic patriarchy playing out. See, everything comes in layers, and they like to do things with their trickery. And when we start to really go into the occult, the Black Lodge, okay, I don't know if this is going to get censored. I don't care. I hope that's okay with you, Steve.
They can't censor us because they're too interested in what happens on this channel.
Yeah.
It's also an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this fares. But yeah, when we talk about the Black Lodge and we talk about the female Illuminati, these power players, these God players that think they're God anyway, it's part of the ego of possession, the possession of the male. This is the thing we have to look at as well in our society as a reflection of that type of rulership, right? Look at it, okay? Most men are beta males, right? We know that. Most marriages fail. Most women tell the men to get the fuck out, right? Because either they're too beta or they're too alpha for them, and they're too threatened by their masculinity and their centeredness and their authenticness, right? So again, deep psychological programs have been done on the males and the females. And as he shared recently with me, a very powerful video by Mark Passio about the feminism and the eugenics behind it at play. Well, it's not eugenics; you call it
epi-eugenics.
Epi-eugenics, that's right, epi-eugenics. So, thoroughly recommend people to go and watch that to get more informed on this information. So, yeah, the psychology at play here is multi-layered, and the more we go into these frequencies of the age of revealing or the awakening, whatever you want to call it, this information is coming to the fore now. Okay, and this is why you can get to that point of understanding that the female Illuminati is truly the ones in control here. And they perceive that when you look at Freemasonry and secret societies, it's mostly men, right? They don't talk about the female Illuminati, the female lodges. They're very few. They don't talk about it that much. But when you look into it, you can see actually how influential they are on the Jesuits, on the Fabian Society. When we talk about the Black Lodge, we're talking about the influences here from Britain and Israel. Okay, these lodges are very, they're based in very strong power centers that that's part of their matrix control system in these places. So yeah, it's that's not who, but that's the element that's behind this. It's the
Yeah, the
female
energy dynamics, isn't it?
yeah.
It's the energy dynamics that's behind it, because then
Mm,
you think about Sigmund Freud, okay? Edward Bernays being the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and from Sigmund Freud, we've got this sexual element that
mm,
drives psychology and the Oedipus complex, okay? And then, you know what? I saw the picture when we started talking about this hidden dynamics. I mean, they are really sick, and you can picture it. So when you're in the process of your awakening and you're stuck in another loop, as most people here probably can relate to, that's what they create. They create reality loops and of trauma and the traumatization of humanity that's been ongoing. And in
mm,
the background, you've got females that are never talked about that control the male because of the control of sexuality,
mm.
and because the male are not real men. I mean, I don't see anyone you see in those societies as men. They're everything but. So they're
Yeah,
controlled by
they're
that
a
female
disgrace to
element.
the males.
Yeah, and they're controlled, and it's in these circles you also have black magic sex rituals. Okay, that's very deep with Aleister Crowley, that I know of.
Mm.
And you see the at the back and behind the curtain, okay, I can see a woman is like, oh, you don't feel good, have you got mommy issues, and taking the piss, you
Yeah.
see. And it's such a sick, it's such a disgusting picture that I have of that, which is the very driver of motivation that I have, because I
Mm,
face up to them and I can tell them I know about psychology and I know about elements that you can't even perceive of. And that's power, okay? And you piss everyone off. And guess what? When I spoke my truth, I pissed all of them off. And they even made members within the group turn against me, telling me, oh, yeah, I wanted to tell you, Steve, that you've been very imbalanced the last few days and weeks. And I wanted to tell you that, but. And then the next talk about all of this. So the whole talk that I said, or everything that I said, was shut off. Only music being listened to. Okay? Only music. The wizard Chris was sitting next to me sleeping. He was knocked out. Okay? From the mushroom, knocked out after 2 hours after taking it, he sleeps on that. Okay? And Errol didn't take the mushroom. Okay? So he was in another dynamics. And I'm isolated. And all we're doing is listening to music where I just said something very significant. I get attacked and no one asks questions. The only thing that I get is people of my own crew telling me that I'm in an imbalance. When I know that I've got skills where I can detect on high levels, and which is exactly the reason why they took out the ancestors,
mhm,
because they got their consent by not detecting the higher level manipulation of what's at play here. We're talking about Aleister Crowley that these people are in, okay? I know this because I was there for days. Aleister Crowley, Aldous Huxley. Who are these people? You don't just get my trust. Because of what? Because of how you look like or the knowledge that you just shared with me. No. You get my trust through longer time that we spend together. And all I got toward me, the attacks was, oh, Steve, it's your problem. You still have to go deep into the heart. And what they always leave out is the masculine element of heart-based intelligence. What is love without the protection of love? And with
mhm,
me, they can do it. And that's why we've got the pyramid back. This is the level, and that's the reason why the mushroom really wanted me to consume it. It was a very uncomfortable experience, but that's what it took to really get the pyramid into the
mm.
power of the forces aligned with the source. That's the
So,
level of play that I was dealing with.
mm. Well, self-defense is the masculine element
Yeah.
in love, and nurture and care, and that's the feminine element. I mean, you can go into multiple threads under those categories, but yeah, it's This is a thing that they play as well, is if we haven't done the psychic hygiene, again, I talk about psychic hygiene, it's a daily practice for me, Steve. You know, I'm a seeker of knowledge. I spend my extra hours seeking knowledge, accumulating more knowledge, writing it down so that I can eventually, my intention is to also be someone who is a public speaker and can share this knowledge for free and freely, because we don't have time to dilly dally and hide behind a paywall at the moment. We really need to get this information out there to empower our human family, and so that we can start decoding and knowing how to deal with the enemy. Otherwise, without this knowledge, right, we fall into ignorance. And what is ignorance? It's evil.
Yeah.
Evil is ignorance. Ignorance is evil.
Can I just throw that in here? Because I can get people who say, yeah, we need to pay the rent and all that. That's wrong thinking again. We need to elevate our consciousness and do it step by step. You need to share it for free and let people give a gift. You only get a gift by giving people something where they can give you, and it can be more than what you would have charged them. Where does the charge come from? Is it the unconscious feeling of desperation and of your existence, which is the prime drive of this satanic agenda? It's your insecurity and lack of trust in the life force energy that's all around you.
Yeah. It's complete trust in yourself, complete trust in the relationships that you have developed trust in. And if that's still not developed, you're developing it, because that's where you want to reach in relationships. What other way is there to connect from human to human but to have trust? And trust comes from love. Yeah, trust comes from love. It comes
Yeah.
from love. It's a loving thing. But also, love is self-defense. So you've got to be cautious with your trust and who you trust. And
Exactly.
that takes time. You need to take time. And that's, for me, is what I'm doing here in London as I'm connecting with people. But I'm taking my time, building trust, building rapport, deepening my bonds and connections. Again, something they don't want you to do. And especially between men and women, they just don't want that. They don't want you to have a deep connection with a woman. They want the women to believe men are just after sex, and that's it, you know. And they're just objects to be used. But it couldn't be further from the truth. For any authentic man and an authentic woman, we
I
all
can
seek
just,
love and true
I can,
authentic connection, heart feeling, and
and
total
I can
trust.
back that up what you just said. That's why I just want to say it quickly. Ever since I've really faced my deepest fear, when I closed my heart when I was 14, and having my heart broken 2 years in a row by the same woman, I closed down, and I've been facing this, the feelings of terror, and actually making things come up and resolving them, and integrating that shadow.
Mm,
I'm in love with a woman for the first time since way back when I was 14, and I'm really in love with her, and I just know. And from that, since that point, I don't have any sexual drive right now. I know it's there, but I'm just not interested at all. And that's coming from someone who you know felt or thought differently before that. Okay, before that point. I'm just at peace, just being,
mm.
and leaving space. What I'm learning is leaving space to the other human being to activate the magnetics, because that's how it works. You don't have to be anything or like do some great thing so then she's in love with you. That's the
Mm.
wrong thing. You don't have to do anything to be
No,
in
you
love.
be
That's the
yourself.
key point.
You be yourself. You share what what you do, and you share yourself with the other person. And if there's a connection there, then great. If there isn't, then life goes on, and it's
Yeah.
all good, and it's there for you as a lesson, and that's it. And this is the thing as well about sex and abstinence. We live in a very abstinent society of sex. We love the idea of sex, as Mark Passio talks about. We love the idea, and it's just like this whole scamdemic. They'll go and film or give a small portion of the population, and make it look like everybody's doing it. everybody's sleeping around, being promiscuous, and having all types of craziness, crazy sex parties and all this sort of stuff. But in fact, it's very few and far between. And if anything, this is why, quitting porn 7 years ago, for me, it made you realize all that perception isn't pornography itself. Look at the consumption of pornography. Most of it is by men. Also women. Don't get me wrong. Women also do that too. There's a large portion of women as well that watch porn. Although that may be a different experience for each sex, for each gender, but in the end, it's giving you that perception of the degenerate immorality, sexual immorality of the treatment of the woman and her as a sexual object only and nothing else.
Yeah.
And these men that are also participating, don't get me wrong, every time we talk, even if we're talking about the female Illuminati and the female rulers, the men equally are serving these. This is one and the same. This is men and women in the end. But we're just decoding the hierarchy here, so we can understand where the psychology is coming from and what psychology is at play here, right? So yeah, it's very important we talk about this. And I'm just going to put my charger on, Steve, because I'm running out of juice on the laptop.
Oh, good. Yeah, you see, guys, dear people, dear human family, what a fascinating chat we're having here. And this is what happens when I talk with Ahmed every single time. We delve deep and suddenly we're connecting the dots on the geopolitical sphere of the power structure, the matrix power structure, and how a notice of liability and responsibility that you actually make the politicians responsible, which they are, under the workings of the natural order, which no one can escape unless those demented beings think they're above the natural order from which they originate. All of them, including the demiurge. You see, this is the prime problem that the demiurge has, is the demented belief that he can be above the natural order and create a new technologically generated artificial order through the 5G networks and above. You see, that's the dementia of them. And tying it into the psychology, which relates to one of the Hermetic principles, which is the principle of mentalism. Okay, that we understand the microcosmic dynamics, which are shadow integration work, okay, emotional balance, emotional intelligence, coupled together with intellectual intelligence, okay, and having the whole. That's why we talk about holistic intelligence. Those are really important things to know about, as well as, and I want to throw that into the equation also. So understanding psychology, and that's why I love speaking to Ahmed, because he's just as much in different ways looking at the same thing, and it's massive. They really don't want you to know that they're psychologists at the top of the pyramid. Okay, not bankers, all that. That's just for show. That's just the Truman Show of reality. They're psychologists, they're priests, okay? And the thing with the activation to the pyramid, because I want to get back to the pyramid now and wrapping this up, okay? And the significance of the pyramid, because we dive into all aspects. And this is key when you shared with me the corporal element being above the mental, governing the mental. And it's true. When you integrate an emotion corporally, okay, you feel it and you let it go, the shadow integration work, okay, when you used to have situations where you reacted, but now you're not reacting anymore, you're cool with it. That's when you know you've integrated that emotional aspect. Okay, so on the macrocosmic level, we were brought to the pyramid, okay, of Austria, and we're now in full command and in full charge and in full alignment with that pyramid working through us. Okay, and it's a massive energy center to get access to, but we're doing it because of the alignment with the will of the source, because of the backing by the ancestors. Okay, and all these forces, I sent the entire force of the source, okay, whilst I was there, because I needed that in order to fulfill and make this happen. So on a level, the following has happened. In Austria, just as in any country, you've got a command and control pyramid structure of this matrix. They take orders from the international sphere, okay, which is based on the Round Table Society by Cecil Rhodes. Okay, we've got the Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg Group, and all of them. Then you go more higher up into the satanic realm, okay, and just on the fringe of the satanic pedophile networks, you've got the psychological and psychiatric alliances, okay, because it's a mental asylum, the world, the way they've structured it, and through their mind control, it's a mental institution what they've created. So they're psychologists. We're talking about the Tavistock Institute in London, okay. That's what we're talking about, from where it all goes out into the world, and it's worldwide. And then it leads up further up into the secret societies and so on. It's a mind-based pyramid where they get commands and they implement those commands into the world through politicians and the legitimacy they supposedly have in government. But it's a mind-based pyramid. You get a command and you act on it. Command acquiescence, command acquiescence. And that pyramid can only be busted through activating and aligning with the corporal pyramid of that respective country, and that supersedes any pyramid of command and control because of the alignment with the source. How about that? Do you like that? You black satanic cult. Do you like that? Or do you now understand from where we're coming from? And that we're taking this planet back, and you can't do anything, can you? Can they do anything, Ahmed, about this? What would you say about that?
Well, they can try, but the light always wins over the darkness in the end. And when we are putting these energetics on the land, for them it's so hard. This is my feeling and my intuition and my gnosis, if you like to call it that what we are doing is undoing thousands and thousands upon thousands of years of evil energetic construct, and we're undoing this matrix system through the activation of these sacred sites. And they will have to spend thousands and thousands of years to build that darkness back and that ignorance back.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so important to start sharing this knowledge with everybody, so that people become or are led to Ras Ben's work, or Michael Tsarian, or Mark Passio's work, and the many great scholars that have contributed to their pursuit for the truth and nothing but the truth. So it's really important that, we are connecting with our ancestors. We do the research, not just go down rabbit holes of, secret orders and stuff. We've been there. We've done it. Okay, if you're new to this, it's different. Of course, research that. We all had to go through all these different layers. But if you've been doing this for a while, like you and I have, Steve, it's important now to start getting into the deeper psychological aspects and our understanding of nature itself, and how nature works, and how she can serve us, and how we can work with her for us to serve, for it to be a symbiotic relationship that's based on heart, intelligence, and total being, holistic being a whole. Okay, so yeah, and can I just finish on this as well? When we talk about shadow work and integration work, yes, there's only so much you can do on your own. Okay, there's another thing I forgot to mention, and it's so important you find at least one person you trust. It's so important. Our human relationships, do not underestimate them. It's so important. If you want to be an island and go and live in an island on your own, go ahead. You want to be a hermit or a monk who wants to be secluded from the rest of society, go ahead. That's not the experience I came here for. I came here to work and create and connect with beautiful human beings that are there, that are authentic and real, and know their hearts and want to connect and build a beautiful future together. So find someone you trust and work with them, and talk to them about your traumas, your emotions. Open up. It's really important we share and build those connections out there, because we're living in upside down times. right?
Mm,
We really need to find people we trust now. And trust is not a given, you build it, but it's so important to take that leap of faith as well and trust your instinct with people, because that instinct, that heart-based gut instinct as well, it's all symbiotic in the end. It's all
mm,
one and all. But you know where you feel it in your body. It will tell
mm,
you. You know,
absolutely.
somebody's honest and is going to look after your secrets, and respect and value you for the beautiful being that you are.
Mm. Absolutely. And this is what this is about. I went deep into the study of secret societies. Confessions of an Illuminati by Leo Zagami. Fascinating reads. Lots of
Mm,
very amazing information about Aleister Crowley and the background to Freemasonry, how it was infiltrated with black sex magic. You see,
mm,
and with the activation of the pyramid, that's the sort of information that was in that house. Okay, Aleister Crowley. Who is this guy? I know who this guy is, and I can connect the dots. And it was such a beautiful experience. Like, don't get me wrong, lovely people. They invited us, and it was beautiful. It's just that they need to learn that there's higher levels of knowledge above the bubble that they're in. Okay, that's all that is. And
mm,
I communicated that telepathically with them also, and they had to agree with me. And
mm,
I explained to them exactly what it is. And this is just this. It's not that there's. You see, you need to get the misunderstanding right. Okay, which is that they want to control. Okay, this cult and their expressions. They want to control the awakening. They want to control the activation of the pyramid, but they need to realize that they themselves need to learn and level up to new levels of information, because you can't
mm,
manipulate someone who's worked on himself and doesn't have mummy issues and can see through your bullshit. Okay, and that's why she didn't like me saying that on the highest levels of the control structure is women. Yeah,
mm,
because I could see her, and just saying that I'm happy to make you remind that you need to learn on yourself. Whereas
mm.
I was told by her the whole time, oh, you need to learn on yourself. Don't impose your view of myself on me. I know I still have to learn on myself, and I'm honest with it. But you
Mm,
see, it was the missing element. She kept trying to tell me, "Oh, you need to find love, and you still love and love this." They're excluding the masculine element. I'm showing my love by questioning you because I'm the protector and preserver of all life for this earth, and I don't take bullshit because there's principles underlying the fabric of reality that will make us transcend
mm.
this pathetic matrix, muzzled up reality.
I
What a
feel.
pathetic, pathetic thing. And you learn, okay?
Mm,
You leave because I know. And in that moment, I'm not humble, but I'm steady like a rock of masculinity protecting this planet because it's been fucked over far too many times. And I'll make sure this time everything goes right. That's
yeah.
what I am here to do. And I pissed everyone off, which is great.
That that's wonderful. And also, it goes back. It ties in with the trust, right? Because the person you trust will also tell you your negative aspects and will point out your flaws.
Yeah.
Whether that's somebody that's your twin flame or your lover, or whether that's your best friend, or someone who's the closest to you, will call you out on the bullshit, and you do the same. It's a two-way relationship. You've got to work on yourselves, but with each other too. And the more you do that, and that's what you did there. You spoke your truth, no matter how uncomfortable it was, even amongst people that were familiar to you and you've been very close to.
Mm,
And doing that is only going to drive forward your awareness and consciousness and your intention for the love, for the truth and freedom.
mm.
And that's what it's all about.
It was an amazing experience. And I mean, I have to go back to how the mushroom communicated to me. It was unbelievable. It was like, come on. Please, just one, you know. I know it's a bit uncomfortable, but it's important. It really communicated that to me, and I could decode and detect the entire situation on the highest levels. And I'm really happy about that. And actually, this is a show of self-love. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really proud of what I did, because I did it for the heart, making myself absolutely vulnerable, and my actual crew around me even go against me, and still pulling forward with it. And that's what it takes for the truth. Okay, sometimes you have to do the uncomfortable, and that is what is going to create freedom, because
Mm,
they'll reflect on their experience and they'll see it later down the line. Oh wow, you were spot on right at the beginning. Yeah, I told you so. And now it's good. You see, it's all good, but we need to stick to the truth. And this is the way this manipulation also works. It keeps telling you that you have a problem. Well, when you're honest with yourself and you work on yourself, you're going to face them anyway. I'm facing that. I've shown that
mm,
over the last weeks. I've changed massively. But no one can tell another one what their problem is and impose that on others and have others agree with that and make the other one look like a crank and being paranoid. No, this world is run by
mm,
a satanic cult that's in every country. And we're activating a pyramid here which gives over power of the entire country, possibly the
mm.
world in the holographic sense, to us. And you try and tell me I need to trust you after knowing you for a few days? Who are you? If I'm not allowed to ask who you are based on those terms, there is a problem. And that's what we need to get clear. And this is what the ancestors didn't do. They fell into the trap of this deep psychology, and that's how they got them. And we're not being gotten by anyone anymore because we know the game. And people like me and Ahmed specialize in the deeper psychology and the plays here. So I'm so happy to have you here, Ahmed, and share this, because this is healing for me to share it. And that's why I share all of this with the audience, with what happened with us.
Mm.
Okay. And I have no bad feeling about it. If there's something that I did wrong in sharing that because it's too private, well, let's have a talk, shall we? To the people that were actually there. But don't tell
Mm.
me that I'm not allowed to talk about this. Okay. We need to realize that humanity has been lied to too much, and we're getting out of it now, really
Mm.
getting it right. And I'm so happy.
We're getting there. We're getting there, and also that that honesty and speaking the truth is so important right now. And also, we are all flawed. We are perfect in our imperfections. So let's start embracing that, because they want you to have the programs of perfection and the ideal. And this is how they've manipulated us. The ideal woman, the ideal shape of a woman, the ideal man, the ideal shape of a man. You know, what all the what they tell you what's attractive and what's not attractive. Nobody talks about the beauty of the soul. Not just to say that the body and the form is not beautiful too, but we are imperfect, and that is perfect in and of itself, because we live in a paradox-based reality.
Mm, that's beautifully put. The only ones who are perfect are the machines, okay? And we don't need any of that transhumanist bullshit. So I think we can wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to add? Because we've gone through some amazing things here right now. I love this talk, man. This was amazing. Let me say this. Wow.
Pleasure and honor, brother. It's good to talk about these subject matters and get the information out there so people, um, get a condensed version of all our research that we've been doing, for years
Mm,
and years, and how far we are in our journeys of research and sharing that information. Um,
mm,
so yeah, more power to us, and the light is coming through, the love is coming through, and we're all connecting, and the tribes are gathering.
beautiful. That's exactly what I'm seeing also. So thank you very much to all the audience. That's what we do. We share our experiences here. We're right in the middle of the Gnostic Takeover in Austria and synchronized with Britain, which we're gonna get to very soon. Okay, no one can stop this. And Ahmed also coming to Austria. So it's massive what's going on here. We're sharing the experiences, and we are also very glad and thankful to offer you to support our work. Okay, so underneath here in the details, you can become a Patreon supporter, one-time donation, because that's the one thing that's still not easy for us. Although we say we don't charge any money, okay, it's on a foundational trust basis with the source, okay, to support the work that we're doing, and all we can do is point it out that if you find a healing and remedy in the information we share, please make a donation, because it really is needed. Because me and Errol, we're just struggling through from one month to the other, and we intend to change also that current. Because when you go to the deep levels of the matrix, they will try everything to cut you off money and make you suffer through that. So we don't let that happen, and I think the human family doesn't let that happen if you see value in the work that we do. So yeah, thank you so much, Ahmed, for your time.
Thank you,
And
Steve.
we'll speak soon, all right? Take very
Okay.
good care. Much love.
Much love.